Okay, item 8, request for service reporting. Now, another paper has just been loaded, which we haven't had time to read, I'm afraid. Can we possibly get that up on the screen?
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Great. So I'm here today to talk to you about the trends that we're seeing in terms of requests for service since we've had Hybris in place. One of the requests that came back from the review last week was to look at the data across the last 3 years. So I've got the graph up there for you. It's focused on volumes, and I just thought I'd talk you through some of the changes that we've seen in the last year. So our obviously, our number of service request volumes are fairly steady, sitting at about 11,000 a month. We've seen some significant spikes in this first half of the year, particularly around the start of the year, relating to an increase in requests for water leaks. And then again towards the middle of the year, relating to increase in spikes around damaged bins. We have, since bringing in Hybris, had greater access to 3 pieces of data. One is the ability to be able to see information pertaining to specific services. So we're able to drill down below just saying, hey, we've got a number of transport requests or a number of water requests, down into the level of saying, hey, it's litter on a road. The second thing is being able to look at information at a geographical level. So looking at what ward, what area, and then the third is being able to track a service request across its life cycle. So from when we receive it through to handing it off to a handling officer in the business, through to our contractors, and then or our internal people who action that, and then back to the handling officers for closure. And what that has meant is that we're able to get much better insight actually of either where we're not adhering to our service level agreements, so where we've said, hey, we'll complete a particular service request in this amount of time. We're starting to get that insight to drill down and go, actually, why are we not meeting that particular service level agreement? Is it at the point when we're actually triaging it? Is it at the point when we're passing it over to our contractors to action? Is it due to some of the quality of the data or the process and the way that we're managing the process for triaging or assessing that particular job? So we found in terms of our trends, the number of closures have increased. So previously WorkSmart, our old technology system, didn't have any way of notifying or escalating a request if it hadn't been done, actioned. Hybris does. So our actual trends for closure, and this shows from Hybris, you can see that we're fairly steady on closing out our requests since we've had the system in place. What we are seeing is that there's an increase now of a number of open requests, and that leads us to then start looking at what are the processes. So we've been live for about a year now. Change takes about 2 good solid years to bed in. So it's working with those individual teams to look across each part of that process to say, where do we need to improve or support to make sure that we're getting our jobs closed, our customers informed. If I just jump back to that 3-year view, in terms of our adhering to our SLAs, for the first 6 months of having the system in, we had high adherence to SLAs. This half of the year, we've found that has dropped off, and it corresponds to the increase of the number of requests that we're now receiving. And also that point when people are going, okay, we've got a new system in place, how do we actually stick with that change and continue to use the new processes that we've been trained in over the last 6 months. And we're also able to drill into, like I said, that detail to say at which point of the service request process are we finding that we're not adhering to that. And so the teams are working with business teams around that now.
Okay.
Right. I have got further reporting to show you, which pertains specifically to our wards. I'm not sure if the link will work, so I've just thrown in some screenshots to demonstrate. As I said, we're able to see geographical information now, so we can actually look across the city and go, right, let's look at graffiti across the city, the number of requests, where those requests have come in. We can drill down into the ward level. Currently the trends are across central, the highest amount come in through our central wards, and fairly low everywhere else. We can look at where they're coming in across channel. In the case of graffiti, Snaps and Solve is our highest channel for graffiti. And then we can also start to drill into, as I said, the types of requests. So rather than just saying, hey, you know, we're getting so many requests for transport issues coming in or water issues coming in, we can drill down in and go, actually, where are the key issues that are coming in? And you can see here, obviously, over the last 3 months of May to July, this is example data, we've had a higher number of water leaks. That's our key area, which corresponds to our increase in volumes as well. Okay, any questions?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, that's great stuff that we've got this data. A number of questions for me very quickly. Do you adjust, if you go back to the top page,
Yeah.
so we look at, so we've tended to have, say, 10 to 12,000 requests. It's been our sort of rolling number. Then obviously, I presume because of the water issue, it spiked hugely.
Yeah.
And it's sort of coming back down. Do you do any adjustments for population?
No, we haven't yet. No.
Because obviously if the population increases,
Yeah.
you need to adjust for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's,
Yeah.
doesn't tell us
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
And is there any chance that, or are you planning to, or can you have this up on the website as part of our open data platform? Yes, Brenda?
Yes, we can. So yes, we absolutely can. The information is there. It's just a matter of making sure that we haven't got any personal details across the information that goes out. And I will work with the team on that, absolutely.
But
We've
even
got
this
some
basic
funding
stuff,
set
it just
aside.
helps people look and see what's going on, because then they can see the trends.
Yeah.
So they've got data, they've got
Yeah.
information. Otherwise, we're always
Yeah.
guessing
Yeah.
and rely on anecdotal information.
Yeah.
Yeah, the population adjustment's really important, because our population could have doubled. Well, it hasn't, but it's gone up quite a bit. Yanni, I presume we'll get straight to you.
Yeah, thanks. So just wanted to check. So the performance reports that we've been getting that say no data, 0, don't know that we're meeting target, has that been now repopulated so that we can see what the targets are that we're meeting or that we're failing?
The data for our level of service reporting is in Hybris, so the data is absolutely in there, and it has been in there since we went live with Hybris. We had issues at the those first 6 months of getting it out and presenting in a format that our business teams could utilise to do their reporting, but it is there and available for the reporting now.
So, but I'm just trying to reconcile that with the last performance report we had, where we still had 0. And in terms of the number of complaints, because the information wasn't available.
My understanding is the information is available and that it is it will be available in your next report.
I mean, does someone want to chase this up? Because it does seem kind of weird that we can't see our performance levels being met or not, but the information's there and we're not getting it at a governance level.
I think that, well, I mean, Peter, you might want to have a quick comment on that. I think we discussed last time it would be in the next report. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Right, okay. Just the other thing I wanted to ask was, when we talk about requests being closed, is that to the satisfaction of the person that's made the request, or is that at the behest of the contractor or council staff?
The second, so it is the action completed by either our contractor or our internal handling officers. So they've completed the work, they close it, and then they inform our citizens that we've either closed it because it's been done, we've either closed it because it's been scheduled for future work, and as part of this process of now being able to look down into each stage of the request process and see how we're performing, we are looking at being able to provide better or more detailed information as to why or how the work has been done, why it has been scheduled, or when it's planned to be done. So it is absolutely completed when we have completed it, not when the citizen has said to us, hey, I'm happy with the level of work that's been done. That would be measured differently.
So one of the frequent complaints that I got was about mowing grass, where people were making multiple requests and seeing no action. And then I got the advice back that we actually weren't mowing the grass. So people were complaining about something that we actually weren't ever going to do.
Yeah.
And I just wondered how that's handled in terms of this process.
Yeah. So currently we don't provide detailed information. I think that's a really good case in point, Yanni. We don't provide the detailed information to say, hey, look, we've planned this for a particular time. We're looking to see if we can change some of the information that goes out in the emails to citizens to say, hey, this has been closed for this specific reason. So we don't include those specific reasons right now. We'd like to.
And the final question from me is that, so it's really amazing to see the data that you've got and you can get it at a really localised level.
Yeah.
So just related to that, the ability for community boards to get reporting by ward with the smaller wards, I think would be really helpful, but like the map that you've had up there, and also the ability to elevate to governance for decisions to get on top of the problem. So how's the process going forward going to work in that regard in terms of reporting the information to community boards so they can see the trends locally, and actually then requests or reports or elevation to actually get resources to get on top of the things that are the hot spots or the hot problems?
So I can talk to the first point. We're working on, so we came out and saw the combined Linwood, Central and Spraydon group. We're currently working on some reports to bring back to them to say, hey, is this what you'd like? We're waiting to get some reports about what you had in the past, and happy to circulate that out across all the community boards for that. In terms of how we feed that back, I think that's probably something I'd like to take back to the wider group, and bring back to you to share and discuss. Yeah.
Cool. Leanne?
Yeah, sorry. Just the because I've raised the same issue as Yanni before around Snap Send Solve. You know, I still can't understand why we can't do Solve Snap Send, which is the reporting back to the person that's lodged the service request through that tool, telling them what has happened. I had an experience the other day where I was going to do a Snap Send Solve, but instead it was just easier to ring the council. And actually I thought that the response was really good, but then I thought, gosh, I wouldn't have got that with Snap Send Solve. I would have got a note saying somebody will get back to you, telling you what's happened, but there was a very simple answer to it. So I saw a water running into the gutter in Worcester Boulevard. So I rang the council office, and they were dewatering where they're doing some building at a site, which is a really sensible answer. So it was planned and expected. But the person who did a Snap Send Solve would think that the council had done nothing.
Yeah, I think there's some challenges there, Leanne, around Snap Send Solve. So we can communicate back via email. We can't communicate back directly into the Snap Send Solve app. I know, I did send one actually, because it said someone will get back to you. Yeah, so as long as people provide the email and let us know that they want to be notified, we can email them back. We can't actually link back into the Snap Send Solve app and say, hey, here's an update and your request has been closed. We need to upgrade the app. I mean, I just think it's nuts that we can't use the same app to report back what people have reported. I don't know if you know much about Snap Send Solve. It's an app that is used across a number of councils, so it's used widely in Australia. So we are constrained in we can request functionality to be changed in it, but we are constrained
Have we
in
done
what
that?
they actually do. Yeah, we do talk to them regularly, and they've done some changes for us, but we are limited in our capacity to do that. But I will bring it up again.
Okay.
I mean that actually raises a good point, that councils could get together and spread the cost.
Yeah.
And actually make it a lot cheaper, because every single council needs the same data.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes me think, just listening to Leanne there, that I mean these days when you have, say, a courier parcel, you can track it all the way through.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is they're providing their internal data to you as the public. It's
Yeah.
the same information. Or Uber Eats, you can see where your food is
Yeah.
being prepared. When it's in the taxi, the guy's going the wrong way or whatever, and you're sitting there, waiting for your
Yep.
food. So the technology is there.
Yep.
And we know that we have the data in our system, and it's just about sharing it with the public so they can see what we can see. Nothing confidential about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's quite
Yeah, and I
important.
think, the benefit is that we've now got that data there, and we're able to start understanding what it means and where the impacts are across our ability to get a job done, to deliver service. The next step for us is to go, how do we actually expose that and making it meaningful
Yeah.
for people
Yeah. All
who
people
are wanting to
people
get
just want to know what is happening. It's when they don't know that they get antsy. Is there a local government open data group?
For Canterbury, we have the Canterbury Maps group, so that's facilitated by ECAN, and they certainly are the leaders in terms of making sure that we share our data. We all use Snaps and Solves, so we've worked with Canterbury Maps, YMAX, Selwyn to ensure that we all use that app together. So that they're probably the best people for us to work with within locally. At a local government level, I don't know. I haven't heard of an open data group.
Okay. Phil?
My question is, like Yanni was asking too, but I just wondered where there's issues that in the line that's been closed because the information to staff is that it's fixed and sorted, and then in fact there's a reapplication by the customer. Look, it hasn't been fixed, and that continues. Have we got a line or a way of actually managing those sort of cases where, for whatever reason, things are not fixed, and tracking those?
Yeah, we've got better visibility of it now with the ability to be able to drill down to each step of the process. So where a particular service request is at, whether it's with a contractor, and we've also got better visibility now of the status of a request, so how it sits across our different systems and who it's with. What we haven't got is the detail, the tailored detail to come back to the customer, to say the citizen, to say actually this is what we're doing with it. So we've got some work there to do. How do we actually translate a status that says scheduled for maintenance? How do we actually translate that into something meaningful with the right information around it, so that yourself or whoever's requested it can say, okay, I understand why this hasn't been done at this particular point.
And then in addition to that though, sometimes in fact the customer could be advised, look, it's now fixed, and the problem leaking pipes would be classic.
Yeah.
So I guess it's cases like that where in fact they haven't been fixed, and it's an ongoing saga.
Yeah. And so I guess I come back to we've got the insight now. It's a matter of actually joining up the system information that we've got of where a job is at, and being able to tailor the information that we send out to citizens so that it's meaningful.
Yeah.
And that will take some work. We've got that planned for this next 6 months. So I hope to come back to you within the next 6 months to give you an update on that.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. Mike, did you have a question? Okay. Dave?
Yeah, look, I'd just like to reinforce some of the conversations we've just had. And in fact, a lot of the comments I get from Snaps and Solve, or even just informing council of a problem, is the lack of communication back to the provider of the request in the first place, that some action has taken, or the council considers they've fixed the problem. And I'm wondering, really, within our system, do we or should we have some sort of auditing system over closure of RFSs, and more particularly how many of them have been communicated back to the originator with whatever degree of satisfaction. It just seems to me that it's ongoing. We hear in the community constantly that we haven't heard anything back from a SnapSend solve or a request for service. So that seems to be our Achilles heel. I'm confident that yes, we are actioning these things as best as we can, but certainly the end-to-end process is not, in my mind, functioning well, where at the end of the process the customer is satisfied, and maybe that's something that we need to be doing in our customer level of service surveying. It is that sort of satisfaction. Has your request for service been adequately attended to, and are you satisfied with the result at the end? But just reiterating, if there's one issue that constantly raises its head, it is that lack of communication as to whether things have been actioned, and a customer at the end feeling satisfied that, yeah, council's listened to us and done the work properly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think closing the loop is crucial. There's no point having half a system in terms of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, interestingly, certainly from our online uptake, we're sitting at about 25% of people who have submitted a request online saying, hey, look, I'd like to be notified about how this is going. So surprisingly, it was a lot lower than we actually thought. We thought we'd have a higher take of people going, yep, let us know. I think the SnapSend solve, we really need to look at some of the technical challenges there of how we close a loop with people, and it might be actually useful for us to get out on the ground and have a talk to people about how they're using it, and seeing what they expect in terms of getting that information back. It will come back as an email if they've provided us with an email. The challenge is ensuring that their expectations, you know, it's clear that they need to do that for us to be able to communicate back with them as well.
Well, maybe in that SnapSend scenario, maybe it's simply saying if you need a response or an end-to-end completion, please provide an email address that we can contact you with.
Yeah.
Glenn?
Yeah, thanks, Dana. Just in the various approaches people can use, do they all automatically result in a ticket number coming back? So if I put one in, I usually do info@council and get a good, you know, what's the automated response? Then they say later we'll come back, but I tend to be more explicit these days about asking for a reference number and not assume I'll get one. But what's the story across all the different modes you can use? Do you automatically get one, or do you have to ask for one? Or?
No, you automatically get a ticket number, so
Okay.
a reference number, so that automatically comes out on whether it's a text, whether it's an email, whether you're over the phone with
Okay.
us. If you report something anonymously,
Yeah.
obviously you won't get a ticket number. Certainly, the more that people tell us, or, you know, who they are, the easier it is we're able to get in contact with them to be able to
Yeah,
either
just
provide
in
an update.
relation to Dave's question, I think that's the best way to trace it.
Yeah.
Just get that number and
Yeah.
follow up.
Yeah, the numbers are automatically sent out at the point of receiving the ticket, the creation of the ticket. Just depends whether someone has said, hey, I want to receive that. Yeah, here's
Fantastic.
my information.
Cool.
Yeah. So what you need is the ability to type in your ticket number and see exactly what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anne?
Yeah, thanks, Dana. This is very clear and excellent information. Thank you. I'm just wondering how we can strengthen the community board's role in this, because at the moment it feels like it's resident to council. And we've got people on the ground in community board who are very aware of local issues. And can you see any way that they could be more empowered to be involved in this?
Yeah, I think certainly perhaps a conversation with some of those key people would be a really good start to generate some ideas around, I guess for me it's about educating people about how to use the tools that we've got, our processes, so that people are clear around what information we need. The more information we have, the better and easier it is for us to do our jobs. if we've got contacts, the easier it is for us to do our job to find out more information or to let people know, hey, this may not be done for this reason. So I think from an education point of view, absolutely. That would be really, really useful, and
So
I'd be keen to connect up over that.
Excellent. So you can see perhaps the team coming to community boards and speaking with them and explaining this, and
Absolutely.
and perhaps exploring ways that ward information could be given to community board members
Yep,
to
absolutely.
empower them as well.
Yep,
So
would
that
love
would be
to.
very good. Yeah, I think that would be very useful. Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's quite easy. You could, I mean, every community board at every meeting can have a print off of the latest CSRs. You can have, that's easily available, and then you can work on your own strategies for dealing with them.
Data, you can see.
But the
quite
data,
quickly.
it's there, so you can, and then you can talk amongst yourself, and actually you should be able to type in live and see what's going on and discuss particular streets that are popping up or particular issues that keep popping up. So yeah, it's really important. And you could say that is the main role of the community board. Yeah.
And we have that, so
Apart from swimming.
that's a great thing. We actually can do that now.
Use it. Yeah, that it's there and how to access it and use it. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dana. I mean, you can see, I mean, there is a thirst for data and information, and in our current environment, it's never been more important that the public has good information that they can rely on.
Yeah.
So I think it's certainly worth, I think, speaking to other councils, and maybe through LGNZ, because you can share the costs. Every council needs the ability to provide this information, so it shouldn't all be on your back to get the funding for it. You should be talking to other councils about doing joint projects.
Yep, yep, sure thing. Great.
Okay, another question or debate? Yeah, so look, I'm happy to move the report, seconded by Dion. Any discussion, Yanni?
I think for those of us who have been around for a wee while, I think Councillor Goff will
What about a long while?
will sing a similar tune. But you know, to get to a point where actually people can just self-register and self-manage their request for service is really what we want to do. So people should be able just to go on, put on their address, have a unique profile, and it just lists all the different services happening in the area, along with the outstanding requests and what's happening. So, you know, I think this is really, you know, hopefully we're starting to turn a corner with the information that we're able to receive, because for the last sort of two decades, it has been quite problematic in terms of not understanding specifically geographically where the local issues are.
Yep.
And so we seem to have a kind of, you know, we have a very broad approach to dealing with it rather than addressing what is the more urgent thing that the community are presenting to us. So I'm excited about this. I think this is, it's a step in the right direction. I think whatever stage it is, stage 2, is that kind of unique identifier for individual citizens where they can create their own account. I think there's still a bit of work to be done on that with our current system, but I note that this report's really around the request for service reporting, not around that online unique identity. But hopefully that's where it will get to. And I think just, the point of making this information available to the public, maybe to some hackathons where we can actually see people coming up with innovative solutions to really improve the city, I think would be good.
Thanks. Dion?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar theme. I just wanted to say that my hope will be that the council, all its data will, end up being open sourced. I know a lot of it is going that way, but we have a huge amount of data that the city generates, and it is for the benefit of the people. And if we're going to be a point of difference city, I really do believe that having all of the data that we have open sourced, so that actually it's not the responsibility of us to develop something, but the responsibility of us is to have the data in such a way that people can actually do some really cool, innovative things. And there's a lot of people out there that just want to get involved, and hackathons are great things to do. There's some really smart people that would just take this stuff and do it. So I hope that is the direction that we're going as a council, because that is the future.
Yes. Thanks, Dion. Anyone else? Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against. That's carried. Thank you.